Hi, welcome back to our cook along sessions. Hope you enjoyed doing the first two sessions and are ready to start our next one. So today we need to make sure that we're ready for cooking again. So that means making sure our hair is tied back, making sure that we're not wearing any loose clothing that's going to drop or dip into any of our foods. We've washed our hands really well. We've taken off any jewellery and watches and bracelets, and we've made sure we've got all the equipment that we need ready. So you're now ready to cook. Hopefully you've been learning all about what processed foods are and how they affect us. So today we're going to look at making our very own pizzas. So not buying them in the shops with all the adjectives and all the extra salts and sugars that you find in them, but making them from scratch here at home. You can make cooked versions and non-cooked versions of pizzas. So we're going to be having a go at both today, so I hope you're excited to join in. Let's get started. Okay, so let's start making our pizza. So the equipment we're going to need to make a pizza is going to need a baking tray to cook it on. I've got a round one for pizzas here, but you can put it on any baking tray you like. You're going to need your knives to cut with, and if you're going to use your fork hold, then you're going to need your fork as well. Don't forget about your bowl for your food waste so that we can dispose of that appropriately. Obviously, if you're making a non-cooked pizza, then you won't need your tray. So we're going to start with our cooked pizza. Now, there's lots and lots of ingredients that can go into pizza making, depending on your flavour choices and your preferences. So you can use things like peppers. You can use cheese, and there's lots and lots of different types of cheese. So I've got some mozzarella here, some low fat. We've got some mushrooms. We have got some tomato pureed chopped tomatoes in a tin. So remember, when we're looking at processed food, some processes are there just to be able to keep food fresh. So things like canning and steaming, freezing, those kind of things, doesn't mean to say that they've had lots and lots of ingredients. So they might have had some added to them, but there won't be as many as if you buy processed pizza, which can have anywhere from 26 different ingredients. I've got some pesto here. So really important to remember, if you're going to use pesto, that it already has some cheese and various different ingredients in there. So just check that out when you're putting together your pizza and thinking about your ingredients, if you are going to use pesto. You can make your own pesto, but it can take a lot of ingredients to do so. So sometimes it depends on how much time you've got or how much you want your pizza to cost. And then I've got some fresh herbs as well here. So I've got some basil, which I'm going to add to my pizza. And then you can add things like proteins to this. So I've got some bacon. Now this is pre-cooked bacon, because depending on what your pizza base is going to be, depends on how long you want to cook it for. You could use ham, you can use salamis or pastramis or some of those specialty Italian meats. For your cheese, I'm using mozzarella, but you can use cheddar, you can use grated mozzarella, you can use all sorts of different ones. And then people now are putting all sorts of different flavours onto pizza. And if you're a fan of things like pineapple on your pizza, then you can add that as well. So in terms of your base, you can make your own base from scratch. You can get packets in your supermarket where you can mix a couple of ingredients into that and knead it together. You can buy ready-made bases, which are just plain, and these are great because you can freeze them, so you can take them out of the freezer, defrost them, and then create your freshly made pizza. You can use things like tortilla wraps. Now this is a wholemeal one, so this is going to be much better for us because it's wholemeal that's being used in this, and it's thinner. So if you're a fan of the thin crust pizzas, this might be one for you. The other thing is, this doesn't take as long to cook. So if you're looking for something really quick or something that you want to cook and then cool down and have in a lunchbox, it might be a tortilla pizza that you want to make. So let's have a go at making this. This can also form the base of our non-cooked pizzas, which we're going to do in a minute. You can use things like pita breads as well for non-cooked pizzas. So we are going to layer our pizza up. So to be able to do that, what we don't want to have to do, especially with the tortilla wrap, is have to lift it after it's got all of our ingredients on it. So we're going to make it on the tray. Okay, so I've got my wrap on there. Now, before we make our pizza, we need to make sure our oven is nice and hot to be able to cook it, if we're going to cook it straight away. If you're going to keep it, then you can cover it, put it in your fridge, and then cook it, but I would advise that you eat it on the same day. So you want to preheat your oven to around 200 degrees, and depending on the base, depends on how long you need to cook it for. So these ones, we don't need to cook for very long at all, should be done in around 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the type of oven that you've got. So the first thing we're going to use is we're going to use our chopped tomatoes. So we're going to put those directly onto our pizza. So I'm going to use a spoon, and these have all been nicely chopped up, look. So I've got big pieces in there as well. And this is our first layer on our pizza. Now what you could do is you can add extra tomatoes and use fresh ones if you're a tomato fan. But this ensures that your pizza isn't dry, so it's a good base layer for your pizza to cook. And again, because it's not too thick, it's not got too thick pieces in, then it's not going to take very long to cook through or heat up. So you can see we've still got some larger pieces of tomato in there. But we're just going to smooth that round, cover the whole of the base. Try and go to the edge unless you like a nice crust. Okay, so that's our tomato on there. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way. Next, we would add our cheese. So I'm going to use mozzarella. So nice soft cheese, which means that it melts nice and quickly. So the harder the cheese that you use, the longer it takes to melt, or some cheeses don't melt at all. So use a nice soft cheese to get that nice melted pizza taste. So we're just going to put half of that away. We're going to save that for another day. And then we're going to use our claw grip again, or your fork hold, whichever you're more confident with. So we're just going to chop this up. Okay, now I don't need any more than that, so we can get rid of this. And then if I want to spread that around, then what I can do is I can cut these bits in half again. And remember, it's going to kind of melt into your pizza, so it doesn't really matter how you cut it in terms of the shape and size of the pieces. You might want to do pretty designs on your pizza, so do some funny faces or a little mini piece of artwork. That's entirely up to you. So I'm just going to put that in there. There we go. So we can see that that's nice and evenly distributed. Okay, now I've got some bacon, and because I'm making a tortilla wrap pizza, I've pre-cooked my bacon here. So you can see how it's all fallen apart. So I'm going to pop some bacon in. Obviously, if you don't like bacon, you don't have to add it, or if you're a vegetarian, it's entirely up to you. So I'm just going to put some little pieces in here. Make sure that I've got a little even spread so that when I cut it up after I've cooked it, there's not all the cheese and bacon all in one place, that it's evenly spread across the pizza. Okay, so I am also going to add to this pizza, I'm also going to add a pepper. Now remember, when we're using different things, different ingredients, we must make sure that we change our equipment or wash it down in between preparation, because we don't want cross-contamination of our ingredients. So obviously we've just handled bacon, so we need to go and wash our hands before we handle anything else. Okay, so we're going to use our bridge hold, and we're going to chop into our pepper. Now remember what I said last time, we're going to keep this inside of our pepper because we're going to need that. Later on we're going to do something cool with that. So leave that to one side in its own little bowl. Okay. I'm only going to use half a pepper, so remember those portion sizes. So I've got a portion of tomatoes on here, and then I've got a portion of pepper. So then I'm going to use my claw grip, and I'm going to cut this down. And then that's probably all I need. And then I'm just going to chop this up. So it's on little things like this, where you might decide that your fork hold is a lot easier to use than your traditional claw hold. So let's cut those down. Last one. There we go. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place those on top of my pizza. So again, I'm just evenly covering that, making sure that they're not all in one place. Now I've used a red pepper, but obviously if you wanted this to look really colourful, if we remember back to our rainbow food, then you could use an orange one or a yellow one or even a green one to give you a little bit of colour difference. And equally, you don't have to make sure that nothing overlaps. You can be as haphazard or precise as you like. So I'm going to add another ingredient, and this time I'm going to add some mushrooms. Again, I've pre-washed these, so these are all ready to go. And then I'm going to use my claw grip to go down the middle. Sorry, my bridge hold. And then I'm going to use my claw grip to chop it into little thin slices. So you don't want your slices to be too thick, because if they're too thick, then they probably won't cook through very well. And then we're just going to add those into our pizza. You can eat the stalks of mushrooms, so there's no need to get rid of the stalks. If you've washed them nicely, you can add those on. Do I need any more? Give you a look at my pizza in a minute. So I'm just adding the last few bits of mushroom. Okay. So nothing gets wasted. We just keep all that food and we can add it to another pizza. So we've got quite an even spread. Got a little bit here which is just red. So I've got a little bit of mushroom left. I'm going to add that onto the edge there. There we go, just fill that in. Okay, so I've used all my main ingredients. I don't think there's anything else I want to put on my pizza, but I am going to add a little bit of extra flavour by using some fresh basil. So again, I've plucked this out of my garden. It's really easy to grow your own herbs, and it's a lot cheaper to buy to grow your own rather than buy them. So all you need to do is buy a packet of seeds and then grow them on your windowsill. So if we remember last time, we also gave you the option of chopping with scissors. And for things like this, it's a lot easier, especially if you're younger or you're not really confident with what you're doing. It's a lot easier to use your scissors. So pluck off some leaves like that. And then I'm just going to roll them together like that. So it just makes it a bit easier for me to then just cut some bits down. Just keep your fingers out of the way because these are nice and sharp. There we go. So you can get that nice fresh smell in there. Okay, so I've got my basil there. Don't need any of that. Okay. And then I'm going to get my pizza again, and I'm just going to sprinkle that on the top. You might not want it as long as this. You might want it smaller, a bit more chopped up. You might want to use grounded herbs and spices instead of fresh. That's absolutely fine. They've just been dried out, so there's no extra ingredients in there. Just make sure you spread it around so again your taste is evenly spread. So there we have one tortilla pizza made, ready to go in the oven and then ready for dinner. Now if you wanted to make a non-cooked version, there's some slightly different ingredients you would probably use to make that non-cooked version. So I'm going to get my tortilla wrap again. This time I'm going to use cream cheese. So I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to spread that on. So this time, instead of using my mozzarella, I'm using a cream cheese. Now, because we're not cooking this, we can be a bit more adventurous with our ingredients. So we can use things like strawberries and raspberries and other fruits. We can mix our fruits and our vegetables together, and you can put whatever you want on top. So again, be really adventurous with your food combinations here in terms of your tastes and your textures. So on this one, I am going to add a little tiny bit of pesto. So I'm just going to use a teaspoon. I'm just going to dip that in there, put it on, and then I'm just going to gently spread it out. Now that's going to give it a completely different taste because this is a pesto-based pizza rather than a tomato-based pizza. You could do this on your cooked version as well. So I'm just spreading that out with the back of the spoon. A little bit more. So you can see how much I'm putting on. I'm not putting on a massive amount. There's probably only about 2.5 teaspoons of that on there. It doesn't need to be really thick, but I really like the taste of this. What you could use is you could use yogurt instead, and you can mix yogurt with a little bit of mint and put that on there. You can use all sorts of different things on your non-cooked pizza. So there's lots of things that we used on our cooked pizza that we can eat raw. So we can eat raw our mushrooms. So let's add some mushrooms onto our non-cooked pizza. So let's add those on there. Let's make a little face this time. Let's make that a bit... Now my art skills aren't the best, so let's do that. Okay, let's give them some ears. There we go. Okay, so we have got some mushrooms on there. We can use some of our pepper. Again, just using a claw grip. And I'm going to chop that up. So again, if you're not sure with your knife or you're cooking for the very first time, your cooking scissors come in really handy with peppers because you can just cut them down into sections. So nice and quick and easy. There we go. So we're going to put some peppers on here. Let's give him a little moustache. There we go. Shall we give him like a little twirly moustache? Let's see if I can make that. There we go. Okay, a little twirly moustache going on there. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper into there for his eyes. Okay, so we've got some pepper, we've got some mushroom on there. What else do you think we could add onto our non-cooked pizza? Well, you can use salad items on a non-cooked pizza. So you can use things like cucumber, or you could use cress, couldn't you, for the hair? That would be pretty cool. So again, I'm just going to chop this up. Now this is quite a large cucumber. And then what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to chop all the slices in half and in half again. So I've chopped that in half using my bridge hold. I'm going to use my bridge hold again, and then I can chop it into quarters. So then I'm going to give him a cucumber hair, something a little bit different. Okay, so bring that down to his ears. So I use all of that cucumber so I don't waste any. Okay, give him a bit of a fringe. There we go. So what else do you think we could use? Now, if I wanted to keep it all about vegetables or maybe some fruit, then that's fine. Or because I pre-cooked my bacon, I can actually add that to my non-cooked pizza, because obviously it's already been pre-cooked, so it's all done for us. So I'm going to give him a little mouth, and I'm going to give him a little goatee there. So there we are, we have a non-cooked pizza. So again, something that maybe you can layer. So chop up into little mini sections, put into a lunchbox or take out and about with you instead of a traditional sandwich. So something a little bit different, especially if you don't want anything hot because it's a hot day or you can't keep it hot in a lunchbox. So there we go. So we have a non-cooked pizza and a cooked pizza ready to go into the oven. So once they're done, you can keep those in the fridge, but you should eat them on the same day that you have produced them. So thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed that activity today. I look forward to seeing you next time.